Who can forget the sounds of the 60s?
The 1860s. I can't, and you can't either. Now, there's Marching Through Georgia, the exciting new album by Billy Webster. All of your favorite hits of the 1860s in one place. Such hits as Garryowen, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, All Quiet Along the Potomac Tonight, Marching Through Georgia, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Go to billysongs.com and order your digital download of Billy Webster's Marching Through Georgia today. That's billysongs.com.
Are you ready for your next great Civil War read? Then try the new historical novel, The Heavens Falling, by Jonathan Lucci. Follow the members of the Dawson family through the Civil War, from the halls of Congress to the bloody fields of battle, and from the decks of gunboats to the solitude of Lincoln's office. The Heavens Falling is available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle, or visit theheavensfalling.com to order. That's theheavensfalling.com.
This episode of Addressing Gettysburg is brought to you in part by me, audiobook narrator Mike Scott, narrator of Savis Beattie's Bloody Autumn, the Shenandoah Valley Campaign of 1864, and Unlike Anything That Ever Floated, the Monitor and Virginia and the Battle of Hampton Roads. If you are an author or publisher interested in having your titles produced as audiobooks, or even just in learning more about the process, give me a shout. You can find my contact info on my website, MikeScottVoice.com. That's MikeScottVoice.com.
Want the freshest cup of coffee in Gettysburg? Then visit Bantam Roasters, formerly 82 Cafe at 82 Steinware Avenue. They roast all of their coffee in-house, and they have a full coffee bar to keep you caffeinated during your trip. Visit them at www.raggededgerc.com for their menu and shipping options for all of their freshly roasted coffee. Use promo code Hancock for 10% off your order in the cafe.
Hi, this is Wayne Motts from the Gettysburg Foundation, and you're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hi, I'm John Rothman, and you're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hi, this is Bo Brinkman.
Oh, that's what I need to do. I need to get you doing an ID like that. But not
Hi, this is Bo Brinkman.
No.
But with my name?
Your name.
Hi, this is Joseph Fuqua. Hi, this is Joseph Fuqua. Hi, it's Joseph Fuqua. Hi, Joseph Fuqua. Hi, it's Joseph Fuqua. Hi, it's Joseph Fuqua.
Hi, it's Joseph Fuqua. Hi, it's Joseph Fuqua.
Hello, I'm Joseph Fuqua.
And you're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
And you're listening to Addressing Gettysburg. You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg with Matt Callery.
There is no time.
There's no time.
I have told you there is no time
But
for that.
generally so.
There is no time.
From the Gettysburg Museum of History Studios, you're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Addressing Gettysburg's Ask a Gettysburg Guide. And you may recall back in, May, I think it was, when we released an episode with Louis Trott and Chris Army about, it was the must-have books for any Gettys nerd. And so we're going to continue that because there's no definitive top 5 list of books to have. Every guide thinks different books are more important for various reasons. And so we've invited another one of our friends along here, a fan favorite, Jim Pangburn. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So books. You got to have books. If you're going to study to be a guide, you got to read books, right?
Right.
And, of course, read books and listen to this podcast. And when did you take the exam?
I took the written exam in December of 97.
December of 97.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back then, how long was the reading list? Do you remember what books you had to read or anything?
Oh, they sent you a packet, and it was several pages.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't hope to read everything on there. You had to kind of pick and choose.
Okay. And what were the books that you found to be most helpful at that time?
Well, it all starts with Coddington's Gettysburg campaign. We call that the Bible. I think every guide has to read that. That's where it starts.
Right.
Long.
Long and tedious.
Tedious. It's not enjoyable reading.
No,
it
it
really
is not.
isn't. You're reading it because you're studying.
Yeah.
And then there's all the footnotes. And we were talking about this the other day. You have to break your continuity in reading to go look at the footnote and then go back to where you were reading. And it's not like some of those books where they put the footnotes, like Eric was talking about, at the bottom of the page. It makes it really easy.
Yeah.
You have to go to the back of the book, and then you have to pick up where you were before. And they're reading it. And it's just it's not fun, but it's a very comprehensive book, very detailed, and it's the best. Let's face it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very good. Now, what would you say then after Coddington, like back in that time though, not what you would think now. Well, maybe you would still think Coddington now, but back in those days, what was most helpful to you? Coddington. What else? Fonts.
When I was doing it, it was before he came out with the first day in East Cemetery, Culp's Hill. He just on the second day. And it was just the definitive work on the second day.
Uh-huh.
And it was enjoyable reading.
Yeah.
It's not bad reading.
No, it's good.
Harry Fonts was the chief historian here for many years, lived at the Rose Farm. His son, Donald Fonts, is an historian down in Fredericksburg and is highly respected. There's a couple of names that no matter what they write, it's going to be good. And one of them is Fonts and the other one is Stephen Sears, as far as I'm concerned.
Stephen Sears. That's another good one. So that would be another one that helped you back then, too?
Oh, Sears Sears had come out with...
that was like 2003, wasn't it?
But he had come out first with To the Gates of Richmond about the Peninsula Campaign.
Yeah.
And he also did Landscape Turned Red of Antietam. And when I studied, I took the approach that I wanted to read a lot about battles before Gettysburg. So when I got to Gettysburg and jumped in, that I had a background.
Sure.
Understand who these people were, what they'd been before. So I happened to get a really cheap, nice hard copy cover of To the Gates of Richmond about the Peninsula Campaign at the National Archives, and I read that. It was just really enjoyable reading, just a lot of fun. Stephen Sears, like the department store.
Yeah, right. Okay, and then what else?
Well, a book that was very popular and I think stands the test of time that a lot of people still talk about, some of the older guides would recommend, is Glenn Tucker's High Tide at Gettysburg. Once again, it's pretty comprehensive, but it's not as long, and it's very enjoyable reading.
He writes it very well.
Yes.
Like it's an easy read.
It's got a good narrative flow to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think he wrote a book about Hancock and Lee and Longstreet, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Hancock the Superb, I think he wrote, and Lee and Longstreet.
That sounds familiar.
So, yeah, good writer. But older.
Right. Now these books, when just because they're being recommended does not mean that they're considered perfect. Right. I mean, there's probably flaws in all of them or factual errors that are minor or something like that. Right. I mean, no one's perfect.
I think you'd have a hard time taking Coddington apart. But, I mean, if you wanted to, you could find little things probably.
I mean, like things that maybe were the most knowledge that they had at the time.
Yeah.
And then, something else came up since then. And so like numbers have been revised or something like that. Right. Small things.
Tucker was written in the 50s.
Yeah.
So that's
Coddington too, right?
Well, Coddington
68.
68. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess you can consider that kind of old for contemporary perspective.
Right.
But Coddington really stands the test of time, and I think Tucker does too, even though he was written in the 50s. But I think that anything you found that was wrong would be kind of minimal.
Yeah. Okay.
You're almost nitpicking. I mean,
yeah,
those are really good quality stuff.
So those books were. Would you say the primary books that helped you pass the test back then?
Yes.
Did you have to get deeper into the weeds in those days to, like getting into regimental histories or the ORs or anything like that?
Oh, well, yeah, the ORs. The ORs came later for me. They're primary sources, so that's great.
Yeah.
I think I got a set of the 3 Gettysburg volumes for like $150, which is pretty good at that time. It's good. Now, a friend of mine just bought a set of 3 and got them for $189. So, they're not inexpensive, but they're affordable.
Sure.
And ORs, it's primary. I love the ORs.
Right.
And you guys already talked about it, so I won't get into that deeply, but the official records are the reports of all the commanders of all units, like regimental up. But what I really like is the correspondence.
Yes, yes.
Because what I used to do is, like on June 3rd, the beginning of the campaign, every day I'd read the correspondence for that day. It was like I was tuning in, intercepting the messages, just getting a feel for what was happening every day, right up to the 14th of July when they, we crossed it.
But that's also really helpful, too, because that gives us an idea of what they knew and when they knew it.
And you get the tone of it, Matt.
Yeah.
You get the tone of the messages.
Yeah.
Somebody was telling me the other day, I think it was the friend that bought the columns from the OR, and she said, I noticed Meade never referred to Sickles as Sickles. She said he only referred to him as the commander, like if there was a note, it said, to the commander of the Third Corps. Well, I never noticed that. That's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because if he called him by name, he'd probably have to say general, and it would probably left a bad taste in his mouth to call Sickles a general.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's good.
So the ORs. How about the Batchelder papers? Did those ever come in handy for you? Or
I don't have a copy. It's funny. This friend I was visiting, I was just talking about. I noticed on her bookshelf she's got the Batchelder papers, and I said, I don't have that. I don't have the Batchelder papers.
Yeah.
So no, I can't say it. I didn't use that. But one book that really helped, I think, me when I was getting started. And we were talking about this informally a couple days ago. The Time Life volume, the Gettysburg volume.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's only 175 pages. Big print. It doesn't take long to read.
No.
But oh my gosh, it's got all the important stuff, and it's got some great illustrations.
It does.
But it's out of print now.
And maps.
And
Great
maps. Excellent maps. Yeah.
But you know what? It is. I think it is out of print, but I see it everywhere in bookstores around here, used, or maybe are they just printing just the Gettysburg one? Because I notice a lot of bookstores sell them.
They do, but like everybody got it.
Yeah,
back in the 90s.
Right.
I got it by subscription.
Yeah, so did I.
And it was like everybody had it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of them out in circulation.
That's the thing. When I go to For the Historian, there's always a bunch of the Time Life books, but if there's 10 of them, 8 of them are the Gettysburg one. And which is good because I do use that for when I write my narrative episodes, because it just helps me to just get a kind of like high point to high point,
a general background.
Yeah, because when it's concise, and it just helps me kind of clear. Okay, this is what I need to at least hit on, and then all the other stuff I can use the ORs or other like regimental histories or other books for the nitty gritty type of stuff. But it is good to just help you remember the high points of the story, so that you can just move it along. So yeah, it is a great one. It's also a great first book to read if you're just new to the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an excellent place to start.
It is.
I think I started with Killer Angels.
Yeah.
But I first started coming here regularly in May of 92, 30 years ago this month. And right after I'd made my first visit, all of a sudden I hear they're making a movie about Gettysburg. And, it's based on this novel, Killer Angels. So, of course, I went out and read Killer
So this was pre-guide.
Yeah. We got 92, about 5 years ahead of time.
No, I'd never read it either. I listened to it on Audible when I first moved back here, and it was good because the guy who reads it, like, he would do a different voice. Like, he was very dramatic in the way he read it, which was good. It wasn't like just a dry, so Longstreet went to the top of the ridge and looked, it was really good. And then when he would quote somebody, he would do a different voice, which could come off as corny, but he had the talent, and he did pretty good. So yeah, I listened to it, and it is good. There's way more stuff in there than the movie, of course, because you can fit stuff in the novel that. But it is a good novel, and it is a good start, too, if, you don't want to be too bogged down with historian speak, and you want to just kind of get the story. That's a great way to start as well. And then I guess if to be a guide, you should read it to be able to correct people when they get a misconception or something like that. Right. You know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it is a novel. The author is...
Michael
Shara is taking a few individuals involved in the battle and just telling the story kind of from their perspective. And, I don't think he, lied about it. It was a novel, but it was, closely based to the story.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. Of all the novels I've ever read that were turned into movies, Gettysburg is truer to the novel Killer Angels than any movie I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how many times have you read a novel you really liked and you heard it was being made in a movie, and you get all excited. You go to the theater, you walk out, and you go, "That's not what I read in the novel."
Right. Well, you know what? I think Killer Angels / Gettysburg and Lonesome Dove are the two best. Oh, and Son of the Morning Star. Although Son of the Morning Star is not a novel, but it was a book. And ABC made it into a miniseries. And I think I like them most because they're the closest to the book, and they get the story right enough, So I think I can't think of another one that is closer. I'm sure there's one out there, but none that I can think of.
I don't think anybody here ever read Killer Angels and then saw the movie was disappointed.
No. The only thing people seem to be disappointed in are the beards.
Yeah. Longstreet is pretty bad. But when you have an actor like Sam Elliott come in,
yeah,
guy was great. Martin Sheen was a little sketchy as Robert E. Lee, but I always say that he was a good Shara's Robert E. Lee. He got Lee in the novel pretty good, and then people can quibble over whether or not he got Lee in real life good enough. But I don't know. I mean, how can you? I remember Patrick Gorman. I asked him for these narrative episodes. I asked him if he would voice Robert E. Lee, and he goes, I'd rather just do Hood again because you can't win with Robert E. Lee. Someone's going to hate your performance. Someone's going to say it's not good enough, or this enough, or that enough, or you're an evil racist because you portrayed him, or whatever it is. And he's like, if you don't mind, I'd rather just do Hood. And I said, okay, that probably makes more sense anyway. So Lee. I don't know. It's a good novel. After you pass the guide exam, and you have a license. What then do you discover are books that are helpful to you along the way that you either weren't aware of before or just didn't get a chance to read or that came out since? Well, a couple have come out since, and I don't think I've even read them completely, but one is Stephen Sears, Simply Gettysburg, within the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And like I said, anything that has Stephen Sears' name on it, it's going to be good. Noah Trudeau, A Testing of Courage.
Love that one.
Another great one, just fairly recently.
Yep.
And you guys know, you hear guides sometimes say, after they get their license, they don't read anything. And I certainly don't brag about that. But once you get your license, you don't have to. And you can just kind of pick whatever your particular interest is, something,
like a niche topic.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like, for instance, and I wanted to mention this book because I loved it so much, Here Come the Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
My particular interest was the advance of the Confederates up here. And Here Come the Rebels, written by Wilbur Nye in 1965, deals with that. But it's... nobody else has really done anything quite like that of book length, and it's just really interesting. It talks about what happens in each of the towns that the Confederates come through. So that was one book. Afterwards I was able to read kind of leisurely. But I'll tell you, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Shelby Foote.
Stars in Their Courses.
Stars in Their Courses, the Gettysburg chapter, about 150 pages. Sort of like Time Life, not a lot of pages, not a lot of detail, but. Awfully interesting. What an entertaining writer he is.
He really was.
Just a joy to read.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's even more enjoyable to read than he is.
No, he's pretty damn good. You're right. I read that a couple of months ago. It was a couple of weeks ago when I had the Rona, and I was like, let me thumb through old Shelby Foote here. So I went to the Gettysburg chapter. I have the trilogy, so I went to the Gettysburg chapter there, and it is. I mean, he's got a very poetic way of writing, and then also listening to him speak. I mean, I think the reason the Ken Burns documentary was such a hit was because of him.
That's who I would have had play Robert E. Lee. That's who I would have had voiceover. Shelby Foote is Robert E. Lee.
That would have been great. Yeah, too bad he's dead.
Yeah, too bad. But you're right. Then I was able to read the whole 3 volumes, and that was valuable for me because it put Gettysburg in perspective of the whole war.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to know what happened before Gettysburg, but I think it's also important to know what happened after Gettysburg so you know how it affected everything.
Yeah.
Knowing about Vicksburg was going on at the same time. And you really do understand that, Lee never really recovered from the losses he took here, that this became a major turning point because, when Grant comes east, the Overland Campaign the following spring of 1964, Lee might be winning battles, but he's constantly giving ground.
Mm-hmm.
He never really fully recovered. The war went on for almost 2 years, but Gettysburg really had an impact. It was the beginning of the end, the light at the end of the tunnel.
It seems to be an impactful battle for all of the participants, or a good number of them at least, because they'll come back here later for various reasons, which is another topic for another day. Okay, so this, for those of you listening, might be a little bit of a shorter episode than what you're used to because, we're not doing book reviews here. We're just letting you know about books to get a hold of. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our break right now, and we're going to come back with the one book that Jim has on his list that he has not mentioned yet, and then we will... we'll see where that leads. So we'll be right back.
Civil War Trails is the world's largest open-air museum, offering over 1,500 sites and stories for you to explore. Each Civil War Trails site has an interpretive sign to help fuel your imagination as you stand on remote mountaintop artillery positions, in fields where thundering cavalry charges took place, or in now quiet downtowns where raids, riots, or raiders shattered the peace. Over 60 Civil War Trail sites allow you to stand in the footsteps of the Gettysburg campaign across Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, and of course Pennsylvania. In fact, they are expanding further into Pennsylvania now with the latest sites in Wrightsville, Hanover, and Chambersburg. As you travel the trail, you'll find more than just great history. Beyond battlefields, great barbecue, beer, and bourbon await. Here's a pro tip: carry cash and never book your day completely to ensure that you can take that gravel road, explore that hiking trail, or pick up an amazing artifact from that awesome antique shop you find along the way. Request a free brochure shipped right to your door at civilwartrails.org, and be sure to snap a #sign selfie next time you are out exploring. Click the link to Civil War Trails in our show notes. Follow Civil War Trails and create some history of your own.
If you're a lover of history, then go to trhistorical.com. There, you'll find apparel, drinkware, decor, and more, featuring a wide range of subjects from the ancient world to the Cold War. Looking to make an impression with the perfect gift? Well, TR Historical now offers a vintage wrapping service for a truly unique presentation. And our listeners will save 15% when using promo code GBERG1863 at checkout. So go to trhistorical.com. TR Historical, for the love of history.
Movies and documentaries about history are spread out across the internet, and their quality is often suspect. History Fix delivers curated historic programming to your preferred device using their website or branded apps. Join History Fix for movies, documentaries, short films, and how-tos. Content covers historic eras ranging from the 1st to the 21st centuries. Their team of curators brings you the most comprehensive and authentic historical content available. Addressing Gettysburg podcast fans receive 20% off their first annual subscription. So what are you waiting for? Sign up at www.historyfix.com and use promo code ADGBERG. That's ADGBURG. Every subscription begins with a 7-day risk-free trial. And after signing up, download the History Fix app on your smartphone. So go to www.historyfix.com and use promo code ADGBERG. That's ADGBURG on an annual subscription. Escape into history with History Fix.
Our favorite bookstore in Gettysburg is For the Historian, located at 42 York Street. Isn't it, Eric?
You're darn tootin', Matt.
It's because they have the best selection of Civil War books in Gettysburg, both new and used, and online they have even more books to choose from.
But Matthew, what if the Civil War is simply not my thing?
Not a problem, my fine four-fendered friend. This is For the Historian, after all. They cover history from the ancient world to the 21st century with a strong selection of World War II and American Revolution books.
It's astounding how they squeeze thousands of titles from Osprey, Savas Beatty, UNC Press, and more into their store.
And it's also astounding how you and I both squeeze into our pants every day. Well, handsome, they have a warehouse too, and that's where they keep all those books that are available online at forthehistorian.com. And folks, if you go to forthehistorian.com now and order books until you're blue in the face, be sure you mention that you heard about them on Addressing Gettysburg in the Note to Seller box, and they will refund your shipping costs.
What if I prefer to browse in the store and don't want to go online to get my book?
Great question, Doodlebug. Just mention Addressing Gettysburg at checkout, and they'll take 20% off the retail price of your item. So go to forthehistorian.com, stop by 42 York Street, or call 717-685-5207. That's forthehistorian.com or 717-685-5207.
Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center
Gettysburg's premier museum is housed in the historic Lutheran Seminary building constructed in 1832, a witness to the first day of battle. The museum's 3 floors of exhibits connect visitors to the dilemmas that led to the Civil War, provide a powerful and personal view of the battle's first day, and explore one of the battlefield's largest hospitals. No visit to Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center is complete without a guided tour of the building's famous cupola, where on the eve of battle, officers and civilians saw thousands of Confederate soldiers' campfires burning to the west, and Brigadier General John Buford watched for vital federal reinforcements as fighting erupted on the morning of July 1st. Today, you can stand where Buford stood and discover how this view helped chart the course of the Battle of Gettysburg. Your trip to Gettysburg is not complete without a serious visit to Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center, Gettysburg's premier museum. Purchase tickets online at seminaryridgemuseum.org or call 717-339-1300. To get tickets or a cupola tour, listeners may call or walk in and mention addressing Gettysburg, or by ordering online using the promo code AG1863 for 20% off. Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center. It began here.
There's a devil to pay.
You've heard us promote various ways that you can help us keep the show going, but one way we haven't pushed too much is our sutlery at addressinggettysburg.com/shop. That's a shame because we have designs over there by talented artists like Ty DeWitt of 1863 Designs and Mike Stretch of the Heritage Depot. So now we're promoting it. Buying shirts, hoodies, mugs, and other items from our sutlery not only helps us keep the lights on, but it also helps guys like Ty and Mike, and it helps spread the word about the show every time you wear an item or you sip from your mug. So head over to addressinggettysburg.com/shop and grab some merch. It's the perfect Christmas gift for the Gettys nerd in your family. That's addressinggettysburg.com/shop.
Hey, Gettysburg business owners. Winter is just around the bend, and you know what that means. No tourists. But just because people aren't coming to you doesn't mean you can't bring your business to them. If you ship, you're still in the game. And if you're a seasonal business, the time to advertise for your next season is in the off season when people are making their plans. So what's an affordable yet highly effective way of reaching those people? Well, it's not radio. It's not TV, and it's certainly not print. Step out of the Jurassic era of advertising and run an ad on Addressing Gettysburg. We just reached 1 million downloads, and we're growing by the tens of thousands every month. Beyond that, our audience is happy to support those who support their favorite podcast. So email sales@addressinggettysburg for more information about advertising on our show. We look forward to helping your business grow. That's sales@addressinggettysburg.com.
You're listening to the Addressing Gettysburg podcast with Matt Callery.
All right, and we're back. So, Jim, the one book that is on your list that you have not mentioned yet is what?
David Martin's First Day at Gettysburg.
And why is that?
That was one of the first ones that I read, probably around the time I took the test or just after. I'm a first day guy, and at that time, that was the most comprehensive book probably written on the first day. The definitive, I guess, is the word people use, until Fonz came out with his First Day. But I think they both complement each other pretty well. It's a long book, but in detail. But I liked it because it was First Day.
Now, I heard that if you're going to get that book, you got to find like the 4th edition, because that's the one where like all the mistakes are out of it and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but if you have like I have 1st edition, I have the first one at home. Yeah. Is it going to put me on the wrong path if I read that book?
No, but you probably have a lot of yellow highlighters.
Well, Dave, what was this? Dave did talk about that because we did interview him about
David
that
Martin,
book specifically, and. He says that when he delivered the manuscript to the publisher, and this is early 90s, so it didn't come on a thumb drive.
Right.
Somebody dropped it, and when they put it back together, they put some things in the wrong places.
Like the pages were out of order?
Yeah, I can believe that. And it got published that way.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
How embarrassing.
Yeah, it got printed exactly the way they put it back together.
Oh, man.
So things were out of order, and
well, let that be a lesson to any aspiring authors out there. Number your pages.
Don't deliver your manuscript in a hard copy form.
Just
put it on a thumb drive.
Right. You don't need to do that anymore. Back in those days, it was tougher. Do you get into like, let's say somebody hires you for a tour, and they say, I'm really interested in the 150th Pennsylvania, or something that you don't know a lot about. I don't know. Maybe you do know enough about them because you're a first day guy too, right? You liked first day. So let's say it's some obscure regiment that, did a little fighting on, let's say the 93rd PA. Okay. The 6th Corps on July 2nd. Like, my ancestor fought there. I'd like to see, what they did and everything like that. And so you got to look into that. What do you pull out to refresh your memory or to maybe learn something new that you didn't know before? Do you have any go-tos?
Well, Coddington, I think. Probably go to the index and look up and see what he has to say about that unit. And then, if it's a certain day, go to a book that's written on that particular day, first day book or second day book.
How about sometimes when I have to do a show, like we're going to do a show with Charlie about Berdan's sharpshooters. And I don't really know a lot about them, so I'm going to go into the brigades of Gettysburg, and I'm going to refresh or learn enough to be dangerous for an interview, and then let Charlie do the rest.
Of course, the OR. I think you have to go to the OR. It looks like Eric's got a copy right there.
Yeah. We start talking about niche units.
This is the wrong one. If they want to do and this, rarely
that's the problem with the ORs is which one. Like finding the right book to look for whatever you're looking for. Go ahead, Jim.
You got to separate the reports from the correspondence, and But, I lost my track of thought.
See, I like looking for regimental histories.
Right, you're big into those. You have a lot of those.
I'm getting there.
You certainly go there, but not every regiment has.
No, they don't, and that's
the problem.
The nice thing with Pennsylvania is the legislature authorized whatever regiments wanted to compile a regimental history and send it in. The state was going to pay to have it printed, and so you get a lot of regimental histories from Pennsylvania that you wouldn't otherwise get because the state was footing the bill to have it printed up.
And then there's the Bates volumes.
Yeah,
that were written in the 1800s.
And what are the Bates volumes?
This guy Samuel Bates put together micro histories of every Pennsylvania regiment in the Civil War.
Oh,
so what it has is not only a general background of what they did at different battles, but it lists the roster of all the guys.
Wow,
yeah,
it's a lot of work.
And then if they were prominent in a certain battle, he might give a little bit more information on that. They're really old; they go back to the 1800s. But he has every Pennsylvania regiment, so it's not a lot of detail, but it gives you enough.
How many regiments did Pennsylvania have by the end of the war?
I think it went up to.
I know they were up to
215.
Yeah,
it's in the 200s, right? Yeah,
I had a relative in the 202.
Okay.
They joined pretty late, so I know they go up over 200.
Wow.
Yeah, it's it's between 215 and 220.
Right.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah,
that is a lot.
Yeah,
that is a lot. And then New York probably had more, right?
Bigger population.
New York didn't just keep creating brand new regiments, right? Pennsylvania did,
right?
You let one regiment bleed out until it's dead, and then you make another one. That's how they end up getting up so high,
right?
New York kind of went high. I think they were just shy of 200.
Yeah, I mean, they're up there.
They kept sending replacements to regiments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So every state did it differently then.
Pennsylvania did that to an extent, but not like New York did.
Okay. I gotcha.
But yeah, what was I talking about before?
I don't know. We're all losing our train of thought on this show today. Jim, you started saying something before Eric came back with the ORs, and we started talking about getting the right one. And that interrupted you. And do you remember what you were trying to say there?
It came back to me and I lost it again.
Oh man! Next time, just interrupt us. Well, no. Okay, so then let's go just really quick. Go down.
Well, I was going to say one thing. I was going to say, Matt, is that we don't get that many tours where people specifically want a particular unit, at least just that as part of the tour. They might want the tour and then include this unit, so it's kind of rare. And I probably wouldn't do a whole lot of research for just a 2-hour tour, but if somebody were to say that I want 4 hours and I want it on just this unit, well then then it's worth it. 4 hours.
Right.
What you're going to make in money might be worth doing a little research on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And hopefully you have time to do it. Like it's months in advance that they book you or something.
Right. Well, that's true. That is true.
It's like, tomorrow I want to do something on the rarest of rare regiments.
Yeah.
Well, I can't help you, sir.
Yeah.
I can show you their monument.
I can show you. Yeah. I can.
Maybe.
We were talking about Bates.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about Bates, and you were talking about how he compiled all the rosters and the regimental histories, and then you were going to... I think that sparked a memory or an idea for you to go on to something else, and you started to, and we interrupted you.
And you can actually get that online.
Are they?
Yeah, Bates's has been fully digitized.
Okay.
I can't remember the website, but like you can go in and search by individual regiment.
It's not Hathi Trust or...
No, it's not. It's its
any university
website. I think it's through paroots.com.
Oh, yeah. PA Roots is a good website.
I think you can find it on there.
Yeah. That's a good website.
Yeah, but Eric touched on something I didn't even think about. If somebody's looking for a particular regiment, then you want to look and see if they have a regimental history. That's going to be where you're going to get the best information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My great-great-uncle was in the 155th Pennsylvania. Have you ever seen Under the Maltese Cross?
Oh, it's a beautiful
It's 1,000 pages. I mean, they've got company histories.
Yeah.
Written by my great-great-uncle wrote the Company E history. But, I mean, it goes into every battle.
Yeah.
And then it's just unbelievable. And then the roster at the end is just phenomenal.
And the name of that's Under the Maltese Cross?
Yeah.
From Antietam to Appomattox, Under the Maltese Cross. It's huge.
It's a beautiful book.
Yeah, it is.
If you get a first edition, the cover's amazing.
Is it out of print?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to find
1908.
Right, okay. Well, they still print the Bible. Yeah, okay, so you'd have to find an old version of that. Where do you find regimental histories? Where someone out there wants to find a regimental history of something. I mean, you can't just go to Barnes & Noble and get them.
That's actually a really good question.
Like, Eric, you have a lot of them. Where do you find them mostly?
Well, it depends. If I'm just looking for one because I need a piece of information out of it, I'll go to Hathi Trust.
Okay.
Because they have digital scans of
everything.
Basically all of them. And some weird things that I've never seen a hard copy of. If I'm looking for, like, to add one to my collection,
right?
I'll look on the internet, but for the most part, the things that you find on the internet are going to be like the high end of the retail price.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go to like the Civil War shows.
Mm-hmm.
There's always 3, 4, 5 book dealers there.
Oh yeah,
and, a lot of those vendors have some random ones here and there. And you can usually get pretty good deals.
What was that show we went to last year? Was that just the Militaria show, or was that
I think that was the fall Militaria show.
Yeah, was that fall? It all bleeds
it
together.
Might have been spring.
It's so hard to tell about. I can't keep track anymore.
Or I like to go to Rock Top over in Cashtown. He's got some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, I got a few regimental histories there. The history of the Bucktails, I think I got there.
Yeah, you did get that from him,
And then a couple of other ones.
Any really good Civil War bookshop is going to have a lot of them. The Farnsworth House used to be really great.
Well, I was in there the other day, and I didn't, I know they have a bookshop, but I never realized, like, what books they have in there. And there were some pretty good, like, used, old books that I'm sure are rare.
Well, that whole bookstore used to be just filled with nothing but Civil War stuff.
Oh, really?
And they had it organized, like the Virginia regimental history, in numerical order. The Park Library.
Now, but can you get in there yet?
No, I don't think so right now. I went down here the other day and it was all dark. So I was able to just go in and sit down at a table and dark, and that was about it.
Oh, but you can access it.
Well,
as a guide.
Yeah, and the public has been able to do it too. People that work on books and stuff get permission to go in there and do research and stuff. They have computers and stuff, and you can talk to whoever's in charge of it. John Heiser retired recently. He was in charge. Guy did a great job.
Yeah.
You just go in and you tell him what you're interested in. He'd go back and find the books and bring them to you. And I think eventually they'll be doing that again. I just don't know if they've replaced him yet.
I haven't heard that they have.
I hadn't heard.
Yeah.
You're not going to replace him, but find somebody to
find somebody else to hopefully try to get as close to as good job as he did.
Yeah, he did a good job.
All right. Well, so was there anything you wanted to add to that, Eric? The whole book discussion at all? So you get like Civil War shows or a place like Rock Top Bookshop. I don't find regimental histories too often in just a general used book section. Although, what's that place on Baltimore Street? It's got all the antiques.
The Antique Center.
Yeah, is that what it's called? The Antique Center.
Gettysburg Antique Center.
Yeah. I've seen some pretty cool regimental histories in there, but they're not cheap.
No,
usually
they're not.
Yeah.
If you're looking at getting a decent copy of a first edition regimental history, it's almost certainly going to be at least $100.
Yeah,
and it depends on how popular the regiment is.
Yeah,
it can go up from there. Like Under the Maltese Cross, I think is average like $250.
Yeah,
wow. For a good copy of it.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. I have a copy of the 148th PA's regimental history, and it's like Under the Maltese Cross. It's 1,100 pages.
Wow.
Every company has its own narrative, and some other individual narratives in there as well. And that one is generally between 200 and 250, depending on the
well, that I could say for sure, yeah.
If you had a particular regiment, I think you'd want to go online, just kind of plug it in and see what pops up.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you another place here in town, Matt, that's probably pretty good for that type of books might be the Horse Soldier.
Oh, yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, sure. Now, there's a lot of places around town that have books, and for those of you listening out there who are wondering where to get these books, just another reason that you come to Gettysburg now is to find the books.
But honestly, if you're not, if all you want out of it is the information, you can go to Hathey Trust and find it there, and it's free.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to, if you're doing what I'm doing and building a collection of the stuff, I want the book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfectly okay with going on Hathey Trust to read it instead of cracking the binding on any of mine. But
if as a person who's starting a collection, if you came across a regimental history, and let's say there were two copies, but one was in a bad condition, but it was $17, and the other one was in decent condition, but it was $150, which would you go with?
I go with condition on that.
You do with yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. See, I would just go for the cheaper one because I'm not trying to start
what you want to do with it.
Yeah,
if you just want to read it and the bindings,
I just want it.
Go for it, man.
Yeah. Also, I like an old beat up hardcover book. Right? I think they look cooler. See all the books there; they all look too neat and perfect. Yeah, but see, right, the Gettysburg Testing Curtain. Now that's soft cover, but still, it looks all beaten up and everything.
I have copies of the Gettysburg campaign, and some of them are so used that we've got them wrapped up with rubber bands.
Yeah,
because they just come apart.
Yeah.
And other ones.
That's my third copy of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you'll have your pristine copy that there's no highlights. You'll have other ones that are still intact, but they've got yellow highlights.
Yes.
So you got to have 3 copies of the Gettysburg.
Well, no, you do. I mean, that's I have 2 copies of the Lano book, the map book. Mm-hmm. I have one for here for quick reference. I have one for my bag in the car for when I'm out on the battlefield. In the beautiful bag made by Von Dedham & Co., by the way. Von Dedham & Co. at gmail.com if you want to get your own leather bag for the Lano map book. But yeah, so there are certain books where you need to have more than one copy. Brigades of Gettysburg is another one. I have a copy at home and I have one here for the same reason. Just a quick reference. You've got to have a few of each. Not each. And everyone, but
I don't.
A few of no.
I don't double up.
You just grab them and bring them out.
The only one I've doubled up on is Pennsylvania in the Spanish-American War.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's essentially a roster, and it's like Bates, but for Spanish-American War. And I found a worn-out copy for $10 in an antique shop, and then I found a really nice copy for $40 at a show, and so I keep the ratty one for going through, and the other one I've never cracked the spine on.
Right. Yeah, no, I just am afraid of, because, you go out on the battlefield, living here, you go out at random times, or at least I do, and you never know who you're going to run into, and you get to talking about the battle, and they think because you do a podcast that you know anything. So then they ask you a question, and sometimes, it's easy to just run to the trunk and grab your bag and pull out a book and say, well, here, let's look and see this, Because who's walking around with everything they've ever learned stuck in their head and easily drawn out? I'm not me. So yeah, I think it's good to have a couple. But you don't. I mean, like the general histories, like Trudeau or Sears or anything like that. I don't have a need to have those there. But just quick references.
Yeah. If you're in a specific part of the battlefield and somebody has something specific about the wheat field or something.
And honestly, the map books, Leno and Gottfried's maps, those do enough.
Yeah.
There's an illustration, there's a description. That's enough to at least get an idea of what you're looking at. And then you could look at the monuments too and kind of cross-check all the...
Well, now that's a great thing you just touched on, Matt, because there's some great books about the monuments.
Yeah.
If you're not planning on being a guide, you don't have to look at that. If you're interested in monuments, then great. But there's some very good books about monuments in the battlefield. I know one that I studied was written by one of my colleagues. Of Men and Monuments. By, Fred Hawthorne.
Yes.
Fred Hawthorne. And now, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and they were talking about books on monuments. And I said, I think the park has a book that they put out that has like a picture of every monument. But you can't put out a book on all the monuments because there's so many here.
Mm-hmm.
So what Fred did is he took just some of the more notable, interesting ones and got into detail, like, what the story was behind them and how much it cost and what years put here. And it really helped a lot for battlefield guides.
I would love to see one that has all of them.
It would be, but like I said, Matt, think about it. With all the monuments we have, 1,300 and... Okay, some are flank markers, but you get the point. I mean, it's probably like 1,000,
Sure.
So you're going to have to get 1,000 different stories.
Well, I always wondered this, that 1,000, is that monuments or is that monuments, markers, memorials?
The number I've always gone with is 1,325 monuments, markers, tablets, and I don't include the cannon. 400 cannons. So then 1,725.
So I would just do the regimental monuments because those are the works of art. All the stuff that the government put up are just plain Jane boring.
I think there's 300 regimental markers.
Okay, so then you're about 1,000 then.
Yeah, now you're narrowing it down a bit.
Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry, what did you say, 300 what?
Regimental.
Regiments.
Plus 4 Confederate that we have on the field.
Okay, so then that would be an easier book to do then.
I suppose it would be. It's still a lot, over 300.
It is.
I mean, each one has its own story.
And they'll have their own story. That's the thing.
Really
you got to be able to...
how detailed you want to get with it.
Yeah.
But you're just talking about just the regiments,
Yeah, just the regiments.
People are interested in the state
because those are the ones that get people's attention, And I was out reading for an interview that I did a couple weeks ago, and when possible, I like to go out to the monument of the regiment and read and prepare for the interview.
Mm-hmm.
So I was out at what was it? Battery B, 1st Rhode Island Light Artillery, out by the angle there, or close to the copse of trees.
Mm-hmm.
And these 3 guys were walking around, and the one guy is the guy who loves coming here. You could tell because the other 2 guys are like asking him, pointing and asking him questions and stuff, and he's like acting like he knows everything and stuff. And one of the guys comes walking over to the 42nd New York and says, "Oh, Indians fought here." And the guy who clearly was the guy who brought them said, he goes, yeah, I don't know too much about them. And it's like, I
had somebody...
I wanted to jump in so bad, but I didn't.
I had some woman ask me about that 2 weeks ago. It was the first time anybody's ever asked me that. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, my God, it's finally happening. And I had to explain it.
Eric, on a busy afternoon, all you got to do is just plant your chair near there enough to be within earshot, and you'll hear like 30 people say it.
I don't go to the angle.
Why? Because it's just too busy.
Yeah. So many people.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
I'll tell you though, there are some really good resources about monuments, like Pennsylvania at Gettysburg, Maine at Gettysburg, New York at Gettysburg, that kind of thing.
All the at Gettysburg ones are pretty good. Yeah. All right. Well, so Jim, thank you very much for sharing your bookage with us.
Of course, my pleasure.
And like we said, like Jim had just said this quickly before. He said, you don't necessarily have to be studying to be a guide, and that's true. And even if you're not studying to be a guide, these are still good books to have if you really just want to have an understanding of the battle. Like, why not get into the nitty gritty? It doesn't matter what your end game is, right?
Absolutely. Any of those books we talked about, I think, are great for reading, just for enjoyable, with the exception maybe of Coddington. Because that just gets so deep.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable reading.
Coddington makes me want to take a fork and put it in my eye and drag it down my cheek. But it's great information. You're
going to know a lot about the battle.
I mean, he had information about, there's a whole chapter on arms and equipment and things like that. And I was surprised to find out, and I don't know if this number has changed over the years, but I was surprised to find out that a larger number, I can't remember what the percentage is, but a larger number than we think in the Union Army did not have rifle muskets. They had smoothbores. And I was surprised. I thought it was only a couple regiments, but it was like, I want to say he said 20%, but I might be getting that wrong.
Well,
but that sounds incredibly high.
That does too.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
But that's what he said. So maybe he was right back then, but maybe now we know something else. I don't know. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope this helped you out. And we'll do more of these from time to time. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Are you a reenactor or living historian? Or maybe you're a War of Rights player and want to bring esprit de corps to your team? Well, then you need the Badge Maker, the leading provider of Civil War and other historical badges and insignias. Mention this ad with an attached message in your order and receive a free surprise gift. I myself bought a metal Second Corps badge, and it always starts a conversation when I wear it. So hit up the Badge Maker at CivilWarCorpsBadges.com. Something for everyone and anyone.
Our hearts so stout have got us fame, for soon 'tis known from whence we came. Wherever we go, they dread the name of Garryowen and glory.